that fellow elders, including retired elders, have put on the website of the elders. There are longer versions for those of you who want to have a look at the website, theelders.org. Let me begin with President Jimmy Carter. He said, "Rosalind and I join the world in mourning the loss of our friend, Archbishop Desmond Tutu. No words better exemplify his ministry than the three he contributed to a work of art at the Carter Centre: love, freedom, and compassion." Ela Bhatt, the founder of the Self-Employed Women's Association in India, said, "With Archbishop Tutu's passing, the world has lost a true Gandhian fighter. Truth, reconciliation, and open dialogue were his weapons, which he wielded with love in his heart. He sat in the dark with those who were suffering and shared his light with them. He joked and teased and lightened the spirits of everyone he encountered. Despite his passing, I can still hear his childlike laughter." President Fernando Henrique Cardoso of Brazil: "The passing away of Archbishop Desmond Tutu is a moment of loss and sorrow in South Africa and throughout the world. He had a unique gift to combine wisdom with courage, hope with empathy, truth and justice with peace and reconciliation. His unyielding commitment to freedom and human dignity is an imperishable heritage which will outlast our time." And now, Kofi Annan's widow said that I could use some lines from his third annual Desmond Tutu International Peace Lecture in 2013, and these are as follows. "Desmond has always found the courage, no matter how uncomfortable or dangerous, to speak truth to power. By giving voice to the excluded and persecuted, he has become a symbol for justice and reconciliation. He reminds us of our common humanity and spirituality. As a fellow member of the elders, I have seen firsthand how his mischievous personality, good humour and optimism inspire hope and change." Rohan Brundtland, the former Prime Minister of Norway, said, "While sadness and a deep sense of loss dominates my feelings on this day, it illustrates how Arch touched all he met, that it is his wonderful smile, his special laughter, and the blink in his eyes that dominates my memories of Desmond Tutu." And Dr. Brahimi, a former foreign minister of Algeria, a former freedom fighter, and a renowned UN expert on peace and security, said, this is my last quote, "Dear Arch, farewell. You have been a beacon, illuminating the life and work of many. You will continue to be a source of inspiration for the next generation. We are mourning your departure. We are also celebrating your life. We will miss you. We miss you already." And Dr. Brahimi is right. We must celebrate this incredible life, this generous life that gave so much to all of us. Thank you.
Gina Scow is an iconic Cape Town musician who wrote this song especially for this occasion for Arch.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is a great privilege to be here today. I would like to give my condolences to Mama Leah and the Tutu family. I think it was the great Maya Angelou who said, "What matters is not so much what we do, but how we make others feel." And when I think about the Arch, I think about how he made me feel, me as a South African. I felt seen and loved in his presence. I felt a deep sense of gratitude for the Spirit being brought so much light and guidance to our lives, who held us accountable, who was warm and compassionate, who showed us how to be integrous, forgiving, how to open up with love and understanding to everyone, regardless of race, religion, or creed. The song is a tribute to the essence of what he stood for.
Thank you, Tina. If we can't make a plan with a screen for the guests sitting on the balcony, we're going to ask you to move inside or come downstairs. You've got a few minutes until then to sort it out, and I'll let you know when to make the choice. The next speaker is Nkosi Mandla Mandela, Zweli Belile Mandela. You all know who he is.
Thank you, Roger, Program Director. I want to send first and foremost our condolences to Mamleya Tutu and the entire Tutu family. Ladies and gentlemen, Moreni, good evening. Kweda, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I stand before you this afternoon reliving again the parting moments of someone I deeply love and whom the world loves even more. As I do so, I greet you all with the celebrated words of Gibran Khalil Gibran in his poem, Beauty of Death. Dry your tears, my friends, and raise your heads as the flowers raise their crowns to greet the dawn. Close quote. This is indeed a difficult moment to raise our heads when our hearts are heavy and we say a final goodbye to someone who has been so large in our life and the life of millions around the world. In him, we have lost one of our most beloved elders and giants of our nation, and we are left poorer for his departure. For decades, he was the brave face of our defiance, and in freedom, he was the conscience, soul, and moral compass of our society. We shall forever remember the image of him, arm in arm, clasping turban imam and saffron-robed pandit, radical rabbi, and protesting priest, leading thousands of people in defiance of the apartheid regime. This image was broadcast into the hearts and homes of millions around the world and gave hope for the birth of a rainbow nation. His prayers moved the heavens and touched our hearts, and his tears invoked our humanity and reminded us of our propensity of goodness. He filled us with the hope even while lifting the ugly veil under which the most horrid manifestation of our past lay buried. His passing is a portent of and timely reminder that the work of reconciliation remains yet incomplete, not the reconciliation of words, resolutions, and tomes of paper, the reconciliation of hopes and aspirations of our people with their lived experience. His life work and that of my grandfather's generation was to bring a drastic change in the material conditions of our people through reconstruction and development, not just the reconstruction and development of policies and ideas, but of lives and livelihoods. We shall always remember the image of him slumped and overcome by the confessions of horror, weeping and in tears in full view of the world as the perpetration of horrid acts of brutality were recalled by the faceless apartheid apparatus. It deeply pained him that a human could stoop so low and wreak such evil and ghastly acts upon another without flinching and without a sense of responsibility or moral rectitude. His shrill voice consoled the loss of sons and daughters in yet unknown and unmarked graves, and gave hope where despair reigned, and gave encouragement to the disconsolate. He is no more, and those who waited for the response to his moral appeal remain waiting, and criminals walk free. I invoke his memory, the memory of my grandfather Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, and all the generations of the great leaders that our movement and our country has produced. We cannot sit by idly and wonder when the failed insurrection of July 2021 will raise the next ugly chapter of chaos, mayhem, and destruction. We must, as a collective, douse the fires and the flames of poverty, inequality, and unemployment, land hunger, and homelessness. It is not enough, ladies and gentlemen, to claim the great victories of 110 years of the struggle whilst we fail our children, our youth, and our women. It pained Arch, who has now passed, that an elder in a remote village of our country will go to bed hungry tonight, and that girls and women will be victims of violence, rape and femicide, even as we speak. It pained Arch that a young man has given up all hope of finding a job after years of walking the streets in search of employment. It troubled him that our society is engrossed in violence, drugs, gangsterism, and organized crime, protected by corrupt officials and the blood of bribes dripping from their fingertips. Archbishop Desmond Tutu was the conscience of our nation. He spared no condemnation for the evil apartheid state, and when individuals in our government and movement started serving themselves instead of the people, they too became the subject of his stern condemnation and acrid opprobrium. Few achieved the right balance of being a man of God and also a man of the people and for the people. Arch personified service to God through serving the people as his highest calling. The children of Jerusalem, Hebron, Khalil, Gaza, Bethlehem, and the entire occupied Palestine today weep at your passing. You touched them, experienced their pain, their trauma and tribulations, and yet reminded the world that what we experienced under apartheid South Africa paled into insignificance in comparison to the daily lived experience of our mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters in occupied Palestine. One day, we shall raise the flag of honor in your name, Arch, in a free Palestine. From the moment word of your passing reached the Holy Land, words of gratitude, thanks and appreciation have been pouring in from Fatah, Hamas, BDS, and all formations of the resistance. You touched their lives and gave them hope. None more powerful than BDS, the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement, who acknowledge your role as their mentor, urging all of us to stay the course until freedom dawns. Tatomkulu, you also taught us that we owe our freedom to the gallant women and men in the global anti-apartheid movement who sacrificed life and limb for our freedom. In honoring you today, we honor all of them. Today, in your memory, we remind ourselves never to turn a blind eye to human suffering anywhere in the world. The struggle for human dignity of the suffering peoples of Africa and the desolate call for Western Sahara, the cries from oppressed nations around the world must not fall on deaf ears. You reminded us that here is no veil between God and the cries of the oppressed. We shall sorely miss him, and we shall live on in the hope that his sacrifice was not in vain. We shall tell his story to generations of our children and grandchildren as a true man of God who always spoke truth to power without fear of reprisal. We bid him farewell and express our gratitude for a life well lived and a struggle well fought. The mantle of the struggle for human dignity now rests on our shoulders as a collective. We dare not fumble and we cannot afford to fail. Our collective existence and well-being depends on taking the baton of building a better life for all by building better communities and living Ubuntu in its truest expression. The poet Rumi said, and we dedicate this to the memory of our beloved Arch. On the day I die, when I am being carried towards the grave, do not weep. Don't say, he is gone, he is gone. Death has nothing to do with going away. The sun sets and the moon sets, but they are not gone. Death is a coming together. The tomb looks like a prison, but it really releases into union, close quote. May the passing of Arch bring us together in such occasions, united in our resolve and determined in our hearts and minds to honor his life and legacy, particularly in this very precinct. The pen has lifted, the ink has dried, and the true man of God and the hero of our people has returned to the eternal abode. A luta continua, the struggle continues. We want to say today to Umakhululeya Tutu, the children, the grandchildren, the entire extended family, loved ones and friends, thank you for sharing him with us and the world for so long. May his life and legacy be your solace in difficult times, and may the memory of his joyous laughter never leave your hearts. Our thoughts and prayers are with you today and always. May his soul rest in power. May his soul rest in peace. To the servant of God, I thank you.
The Dean of the Cathedral is a man of many hats, and as he promised, he's back on the podium to read you a poem. Thank you, Dean Michael.
Good afternoon again, everybody. Of course, Ivana, I hope you're not leaving in protest. When I saw Ivana's name before mine, I wish I had some input into how the program was structured, because I would have preferred to speak after you. And often in our synods we say the previous speaker has covered everything that I wanted to say. But he starts with Khalil Gibran and he goes to Rumi, and but maybe you had the same inclination when you heard our lovely Tina Scow tell us this is how we love, because you just another way reframed that wisdom. The poem that I'm about to share with you has got a backstory to it. It's called Your Hands, and it's a reference to the hand that always mesmerized many of us. But in terms of the poem, I want to contextualize it in reference to the aspect of Father Desmond Mfundi's Muruti, Tatu Nkulu, who was fundamentally a priest. And I remember when I became dean in 2011, I was elected and installed in May, and then I think in about 2013, after one service, a big service in the cathedral, he came to me and he said, "Buti, today you are a dean." So, intrigued, I asked him, what does that mean? In which way? And he never answered me. And it's only in later years that, particularly in August, when Father Desmond became a lot more frail, and he's of the tradition that regularly believes in the daily celebration of the Eucharist. And it was in August when my first day of my leave, I got a call from Malaya and she said, no, it's a missed call. I said, no, in faith there's no missed call. So out of that conversation, I ended up being there on the first Friday in the month of August to celebrate the Eucharist with the family. And what Father Desmond does, for those who are not familiar with what he does, is that on the Friday, the first Friday is a day of abstinence, so he eats something, but it's normally just his hot chocolate, and then he eats in moderation, and he observes a lot of silence in between. And on this day, when I was there, I was very excited because I was now doing the right thing at the right time. And Mama Leia called me into the bedroom to ask me something. We had a brief chat. And when I came back, he had already consumed the hot chocolate, the obligatory libation on a Friday of that nature. And then I said, Father, was the hot chocolate too cold that you received? He said, no, it's fine. But he was very alert and very upright. I said, oh. But I was just sitting down to a little conversation, and then he said, you know that Friday is my quiet day. I said, yes. And he said, you know, I can't tell a Grootman, a dean, that he must go. I said, no, I get the point. But out of that regular rhythm of being with him, it became an institution for us at the cathedral. On a Monday, my colleague Marcus Slingers would be there, and then eventually Joe Tyers would come on a Tuesday, and then I do the rest of the week. And then eventually became 2 Sundays in a month, shared with Fred Hendricks, now retired. And I remember this one day I was so tired, because the service starts at 8 o'clock, so you have to be there at 10 to 8. And I'm thinking, why are you doing this little Jesus King? You could be lying in bed, But when I was there, I realized why. Because of Mtunzi, Malaya, and Father. And then later, Benny became what the interfaith component of Benny Cool. And it was a time where we could cause him my even and then the voices of Father, Mtunzi, and Ma became the responsive congregation. And with Malaya, when she's happy, when she's burdened, she sings. And that was the tone and enthusing nature of our gathering. And I realized that what I probably did right in 2011, Courtney, Edwin, Father Michael Lapsley, who is a veteran, and Gwenya of a decade ahead of us, but we were of a generation that wanted to be revolutionaries within the church. That was our home. And we looked towards Desmond Tutu as a model that we aspired to. But I realized later that all he was a priest. And what